Top 10 things that aren't as modern as you may think. As a general public, we are fortunate to live in the time frame that we do. While things may appear to be horrendous with environmental change, outfitted clash, and pandemics, we truly need to pause for a minute to like the things we do have. Running water, focal warming, food decisions amazing. A great many people would state we're truly living in the brilliant period of solace, yet consider the possibility that we're definitely not. Imagine a scenario where all the things we consider so progressive today has really been around for a very long time before us. Today you will find out around 10 such things that are far more seasoned than you might suspect. 10. People had flushing toilets 4,000 years ago. Crapping is the extraordinary equalizer of mankind. Rich or poor, groundbreaking or quiet. You'll need to crap and it will smell. Indeed, even today all through enormous bits of the world. A few nations actually battle with the coordinations of waste administration and guarding their networks from the illness and vermin that come from not appropriately discarding their craps. In any case, on the off chance that you take a gander at the progress of the Indus River Valley, you'll discover something fascinating. Dating right back to 2000 BC, archaeologists have discovered that not exclusively do the homes in the region have the remainders of private latrines. They additionally brandished channeling and septic tanks to divert and store their loss until a specialist could tell the truth them out. 4,000 years back, and they were working with a but unrefined yet powerful approach to keep their towns liberated from the approaching threat of crap. 9. Oreos predate chocolate chip cookies by a lot. Natively constructed chocolate chip treats are a staple in American homes. Nothing is more work of art and ageless in the heating scene than a new chocolate chip made with adoration, and in the brains of the vast majority. They couldn't envision a world where chocolate chip treats weren't a thing. For an entire age of children, however, that involved reality. The principal chocolate chip treat formula wasn't distributed until 1938, not exactly 100 years prior. While that probably won't be the most stunning thing to hear, the mass-delivered sleeves of Oreos you see on store retires today had been underway since 1912. 26 entire years before the main chocolate chip treat was heated. Quite a colossal hole of time that individuals grew up and had children of their own with just Oreos as their treat of decision. Brutal. 8. Touchscreen displays existed with black and white TVs. Basically everybody has a touchscreen PC in some structure nowadays. Regardless of whether it be a tablet or advanced mobile phone, you're utilizing your fingers to collaborate with it as opposed to squeezing catches. While public touchscreens presumably aren't the best thing in the public arena right now with the pandemic seething, it seems like a genuinely new thing in the public cognizant. Obviously, that isn't the situation. The primary touchscreen was really licensed right in 1965, the greater part a century back. Called a capacitive touchscreen, it utilized interruptions in the screen's electric charge to peruse where a finger was connecting with it and info it as an order. Incredibly, this innovation is as yet utilized in most cell phone and tablets today. It's more refined with things like multi-contact shows, however the idea is as yet the equivalent. 7. First and foremost, we need beer. It is anything but a stretch to envision that brew is an old creation. Most stories since forever include characters becoming inebriated and celebrating to keep away from the devastating reality that life was at that point, and who could accuse them? They didn't have contact screens and latrines yet. Lager is such a huge amount of more established than you'd might suspect, however. So a lot more seasoned. Truth be told, mankind sorted out some way to become inebriated before they sorted out some way to appropriately deal with bread, contingent upon your meaning of it. While proof exists that people were in any event crushing wheat and seeds 20,000 years back, it isn't known precisely what individuals were doing with them. The main genuine known formula for something like bread sprung up around 1000 BC in Egypt. That is over 4,000 years after the main formula for lager was composed. 4,000 years of individuals getting sloshed and eating grains before somebody chose to invest somewhat more energy. 6. The first contacts really sucked. Eyeglasses have been around for quite a while and there's no stretch there. Yet you may be astounded to hear that eye contacts were first created right back in the last part of the 1800s for general use. That may be befuddling to you since plastics wouldn't be in large-scale manufacturing for a long time still, so how is it possible that contacts would exist so early? The appropriate response, horrifyingly, was that they were made of glass. Also, on the grounds that there was no real way to get the best possible state of the iris, the glass contact needed to cover the whole eye. Since glass doesn't breathe well, this implied that anybody wearing a contact was in consistent agony as their eyes in a real sense choked underneath the glass. For quite a long time individuals would take cocaine eye drops to dull the agony of their contacts before better, more slender materials came into utilization. It truly makes you wonder, why not simply wear eyeglasses? 5. Gladiators were getting sponsorship deals. Wherever you go you are getting flooded with promotions. Regardless of whether it be a bulletin out and about or a game decoration attempting to sell you caffeinated drinks while sitting in a seat for 10 hours, promotions are all over. However, they don't deteriorate than the sponsorships for sports competitors. Wore head to toe in organization logos and embracing the excellencies of the most noteworthy bidder, it makes you long for when game wasn't so corporate. Be that as it may, as history shows, there was probably never when sports weren't being purchased by the man. Going right back to the day of the warriors, you can discover proof that organizations and rich people the same were paying admirably performing contenders to inform the groups concerning their number one sorts of undergarments and blades. Simply envision two people battling to the passing for the sake of Burger King. 4. Ming Dynasty cardboard. Where might we be as an animal categories without cardboard? We manage it consistently to transport and store items all around the globe, and chances are you have a heap of it sitting toward the edge of your room at the present time. We as a general public essentially wouldn't have the option to work without it, and that is exactly how things have been for an incredibly lengthy time span. While cardboard first came into utilization in quite a while toward the beginning of the 19th century, it had been underway in China since the period of the Ming Dynasty. Right back to the mid-1500s, and it was utilized for almost precisely the same reason as today: putting away and delivering merchandise significant distances. Quite a basic creation, however it's difficult to envision that it has truly been around for that long. 3. The seemingly immortal Betty White. Betty White probably won't be a decent or administration that is more established than you'd might suspect, seeing as she's a no-nonsense individual. Yet she's as yet worth a notice on this rundown, since no one can depict her just like the best thing since cut bread, considering cut bread wasn't developed until after Betty White was conceived. Brought into the world in 1922, Betty White originates before cut bread by 6 entire years. She was at that point beginning school when bread started thinking responsibly and began coming previously cut in the stores. It truly places into point of view how old Betty really is the point at which you think about it in this sense. 2. The Romans had central heating. At the point when winter hit in the 1800s, you had two choices: cluster together for warmth and expectation, or stick to death. Focal warming without the need to fuel a chimney is as yet a fairly new enhancement to lodging in colder districts, however it's close to difficult to envision what life would resemble without it. That is the amount of a distinction it makes to not need to freeze through the last 50% of the year. While our progenitors may have endured significantly, our more old precursors apparently had it a lot simpler. As antiquated remains show us, the private homes of certain Romans were worked with things called hypocausts. Holes in the floors with earthenware radiates that permitted heat from their heater or a clothes by fire to be pushed under the structure and retained into the tiles above. Warming the house and keeping it an easily warm temperature for the tenants. 1. Among Us is more than a flavor of the month. Apologies, boomers. We're getting the Zoomers intrigued with this last piece of the rundown. Free on telephones and $5 on PC. The multiplayer round of duplicity Among Us has assumed control over the web and major news sources for the most recent month, as a great many individuals tuned in consistently to both play and watch the game on the web. Promoting detonated, and the gathering behind the game promptly began attempting to improve the game with personal satisfaction changes and new substance to stay aware of interest. Envision their unexpected when the game exploded for the time being, considering the organization had delivered it to little display almost 3 years beforehand. The gathering behind the game was so little, truth be told, that when Among Us originally exploded they needed to retry the manner in which individuals made workers, on the grounds that endless individuals were playing that worker codes began covering and driving various gatherings together, as opposed to permitting them to play secretly with companions. The game keeps on ruling the market as the group hysterically attempts to proceed with their updates to a game that was apparently failed to remember only a month already.